The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Holy crap.
Right? What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where a bunch of powerhouse women and a few brave dudes get together to talk about love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am Candace Harper, lovecoach.com, coming to you live from the beautiful heart of Chelsea. I teach and inspire audacious intimacy to powerful, professional, grown women who want real relationships from seductive singlehoods. And more importantly, I help single women over 35 who have given up on love stand boldly in their purpose, stop getting ghosted, and create unconditional love. I see Brandon has joined us. Hi, my Brandon. The Facebook Live people are trickling in. We know the Armed Radio people, you're either listening on your TuneIn app on your smart device, or maybe you're in the garden on armedradioglobal.com. We're also now on iHeartRadio, so if you have an Alexa, you can ask for Candy. And for the streamers, we're available on Spotify and Spreaker. And if you're here live on Facebook, just know you can interact with us. This is a conversation. We're all going to be talking. I want to give a special acknowledgement though, because I don't know if you guys who've been watching remember Sarah. Our Sarah is back from Trinidad. Right? We got Kathy, we got Barbara, we got Jamie in the house as always. So also you know that you can call in during the course of this conversation, 1-800-508-5431. And if you're live, you're on Facebook, you want to join the Creative Love Collective and you want to join Arm Radio Group News, and you can comment here on the Facebook Live feed. Now, I have a bunch of places that I also want to share the live. So this is like our social media moment. So you're, right? Lisa is doing us live on the Instagram, and I'm about to intro you. I just want to make sure that I'm also sharing for the Savvy Sisterhood. I know that some of the Savvy Sisterhood sisters, Lee just joined, Angela just joined. Hi, people. Hey. Some of the Savvy Sisterhood sisters might be joining over here, but I want to make sure that you guys also get a feed over on your, I don't know, I'll find you as I'm talking. Anyway, CandaceHarperLoveCoach.com. My talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth. My purpose is to teach and inspire radical acceptance in myself and others so that we can all have our best possible love life. That is why this is a conversation. We're not here to hand down a bunch of dating and relationship rules or rights and wrongs, and we're not here to shame your love situation. Our only intention is to create audacious intimacy, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. So tonight and every Monday night, we're going to do what we do, which is have conversations that engage, educate, and or enlighten all of us in the areas of love, sex, relationships, and vibrating high. And tonight's topic, implementing enoughness with Lisa Wang. We're going to release our inner badasses tonight, Lisa, because I feel like as soon as I met you and as soon as I started learning about you this week and stuff, I was like, this chick's a badass. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And, you know, you work mainly for female entrepreneurs, right? That's sort of your... Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Lisa's background. This is very interesting, very fascinating. She's a former U.S. national champion and Hall of Fame gymnast turned serial entrepreneur. She's the founder of SheWorx, the leading global platform empowering 20,000 plus women to build and scale successful companies through access to top mentors and investors. SheWorx is focused on closing the funding gap by collaborating, not competing. I love that. Now Lisa is launching the Academy to provide master classes taught by the world's most powerful female executives. Lisa is a member of the Forbes 30 Under 30 class of 2018. Powerful female, in Venture Capital and CIO Magazine's top 20 female entrepreneurs to watch in 2017 and 2018. She is a writer for Forbes and Fortune focused on driving gender parity in entrepreneurship. She's a motivational keynote speaker headlining conferences including Mobile World Congress, World Entrepreneur Forum, Chief Innovation Officer Summit, and more. She is the executive producer and host of the 5-Star Enoughness podcast. I love that. And Lisa is a graduate of Yale University. This woman is a badass. We love her. Who else has come in? Melinda. Hi, Rory. Hi, Hawanatu. So the goal of the show is to raise awareness about SheWorx and how that operates, how to get involved, offer nuggets, inspire breakthroughs, and all around enoughness, and to have a fun, lively conversation. Lisa, tell the people a little bit about you personally, about, things that you like and, things that are about you.
Sure. Hi, everyone out there. I'm super excited to be here today with Candace and all these amazing ladies. My background, you've mentioned a little bit about the accolades, the things on the resume, the gymnastics, the work stuff. But I think personally, what really drives me in all of this is the desire for personal growth, to better understand myself, to really step into what I see my potential on earth to do. And I know that for a lot of people, when you look at professional growth, they think of money, they think of fame, they think of accolades, and all of those, I guess, external things that people have told
trappings.
You, that are indicators of success. But what I've realized is that professional growth and money and all of those things are wonderful, but they are for me not an end in itself. They're a means to personal growth.
I love it.
It's a means to spiritual growth, and for me to really understand who I really am and really fulfill my mission.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yay! That's why we have Lisa here, because you have a bigger vision, right? A bigger mission. So tonight is an opportunity just to talk to you, ask you questions, get to know you, and get to know what that bigger vision is, that bigger mission, right? Are you ready?
I am ready.
Are you ready to jump in and dive? Ladies, are you ready? Are you thinking about your questions? Because my ladies here are all entrepreneurial women, so, it's a perfect alignment, right? And I know a lot of you guys out there, you want to know more about, how to tap into your badassness, how to get that vision, get that interest, that passion, that motivation. And so, yeah. All right, cool. So I compiled a list of questions. If you guys have questions that come up, you know that you can certainly ask Lisa questions. You guys on the Facebook Live, anything, I see Fern has joined us. Hi, Fern. Fern's from the Savvy Sisterhood. Fern, I'm trying to get on the live. So if you want to share this to the group, please do, by all means. I always ask people to help out if they can. So, if you guys have questions for Lisa, you absolutely can ask them. So should we just dive in and jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so when I was doing research on you, there were certain things, because I have this thing about mastery, right? What do they say? It's 10,000 hours to master something. Yeah. It's the theory or whatever. I'm always fascinated by children who can master things. And so in researching you, and I was, looking a little bit about being a gymnast and everything. So I just wanted to ask you about when you were that young, because you started. How old were you when you first started?
9, which is actually older than average.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what were you aware of then as far as your mastery and what it meant to master something? I mean, you really had to do a lot of hard work to get to the level that you got to. So what was that like as a child and as a young woman growing up? Tell the truth, even if it...
I love that you chose the word mastery in the first place, because I think that there is this over-reliance these days on goals for the sake of achieving goals. So everyone has their goals for the week, their goals for the month, that don't actually lead them towards mastery.
Yeah.
And the idea of mastery is having a long-term goal that will take significant energy, time, and investment that you have to forego and sacrifice other parts of your life for. So it's the bravery and courage to say no to things that aren't going to bring you closer to mastering that goal. So if you think of all of the masters of humanity, like the Picassos, the Mozarts, the people who have really mastered things have, they weren't rewarded for the majority of their journey.
Yeah.
They had to believe so much in what it is that they thought their mission in life was, that they, were willing to get laughed at. They were willing to get the rejection. They had to stand firmly in their ground and let all of those negative things pass by them, whereas the most people are so afraid of rejection and so afraid of really what other people think that they can't bear to invest the time and energy to master something. And so for me, mastering gymnastics, I guess, I had my 10-year vision, my vision to go to the Olympics and be at the top of one of the world's best athletes in my sport. But as a result of that meant I never went to a single party. I don't remember going to a party through high school. Definitely never dated. I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't spend a lot of time, I didn't even go to lunch. I would have my schedule stacked, so I'd had 5 classes in a row, and then I'd have lunch, study hall, so I would just leave before lunch.
Wow. And
eat in the car while my mom drove me, and then I would go to the gym, and then I'd do homework in the car after my 5-hour practice, and then have a small dinner and go to bed and do it all over again. So it was a very regimented and structured schedule. I knew what time I had practice. I knew what I was supposed to eat. I knew what I was supposed to do. But I was willing to do that and put those hours and sacrifice in because I saw my 10-year vision.
Wow. So you're, even as a child, when you were young, you had it in your mind that you were going to be a champion. That's what you were seeing. That's what you're creating.
I think there's always this desire for excellence. Even today, when I do things, and I want to achieve a result and I have focus, I just think of it as if you're going to do something, do it with excellence. And the only mistake that I've really made is when I have held other people to lower standards than I hold myself.
I got you. But talk about that a little bit.
So there's
keep sharing while you're talking.
2 parts of life, right? There's there's more. That was a very binary thing to say. So there's the work life, there's professional life, and there's personal, and then of course there's friendship and family, but for the sake of professional versus personal. I would say that one significant lesson I've learned is that pretty much all problems are people problems. So that means
talk about that, honey. This is getting deeper.
So that means if when you're bringing on a business partner, when you're bringing on a new member of your team, that you have to know what the culture is that you want to facilitate. You have to know what you expect from that person. You have to, if I expect that I perform at a certain level, and hiring someone makes it so that it actually takes more time to do the thing, it's really frustrating.
I got it. I get what you're saying.
And we all know that it's harder to hire or cut someone out of, whether it's your personal life or professionally, than it is to, at the end of the day when you bring someone on, because there's all these negative emotions or awkwardness that you have to cut through when you let someone go. So I think that's kind of what I mean by
it. Sounds like, though, that you have an awareness of that coming from where you come from and having experienced what you experienced with the gymnastics and being an athlete, an elite athlete, is that there's an excellence expectation that you're aware of. As opposed to an excellence expectation that you're enforcing on people without knowing that that's what you're doing. Does that sound accurate?
The thing that when it's combined with, and I guess we'll talk about this later, but when it's combined with a feeling of lack of enoughness, feeling like I'm not good enough, then what it results in is passive aggression. Because you're like, oh, I can't say this, or maybe it was my fault that I did this, or and I think that happens a lot even in relationships, right? They're like, you've already committed to a thing, and you're like, well, maybe it's my fault, and it's like I'm not deserving enough to bring up a problem, or it's some sort of internal thing, and so the result is you can't actually attack the problem head on or communicate what's wrong, so you end up just being like, maybe it'll just pass.
And absorbing your feelings about it. I mean, what you're saying, I totally have been there, and I always call it the lone wolf syndrome. First of all, feeling like you have a certain standard for how you want something done, and then also feeling like other people aren't going to meet that standard. But like you said, not speaking up for your standard, not speaking up for yourself, because you know you're coming from a place of like perfectionism rather than connected to like a vision that you're enrolling people in. You ladies, does that resonate with you? I feel like so much of us, and you know, we talked about that with Barbara last week, this lie of our culture, our society, that you know, that we have to be a certain thing and that we have to do it perfectly, right? So that totally resonates. So what is, and I'm sure people out there, it resonates with them too. I see Pam is here and Steven's here. Hi, you guys. So what is your way of sort of overcoming that? When you, because I used to find myself, I was like Murphy Brown when I worked in television. I fired so many assistants behind that sort of like perfectionism, but not enoughness combination, and always, you know, looking for something to blame and getting angry and all of that. What would you say is your way of when you get aware that you're in that place? Like, what do you do about it?
Well, I think the only way is to actually address the problem. Right? At some point, you got to just be radically candid. And that was a book by Kim Scott, or Radical Candor, about how you to be able to remove the emotion from it, because oftentimes people will react emotionally. But to get to a place where you're in a good headspace and you're like, okay, here's the specific point I want to communicate. Like, let's say, what's a specific example? Let's say someone's just not stepping up to the plate, right? They're not putting in that effort, and you're like, things aren't happening.
So, you're not doing it perfect.
I mean, I think the desired result is, like, I think starting from what's the desired result. Right? The desired result is that I want this person to, like, do the work and finish it on time. But they've been missing all these deadlines. So how do I incentivize them, or at least communicate that you're not hitting the deadlines? And it's not a personal attack. It's simply that they've done a great job. So, no, you can't, I don't know. They've, you know,
we're working through this. We're working through it, Lisa.
But you know, they've done right. So the desired outcome is that you want them to do the work and hit the deadline. So to actually start with something that they have been doing well, because I always try and sandwich it. You know, it's like they've done these things well, but we've noticed that recently these sorts of deadlines haven't been hit, and being curious. And it's like, why? You know, is because maybe, I think a lot of times people don't, they assume that what they see is what's actually there. But a lot of times there's underlying reasons. Like, maybe they're not hitting the deadlines because of family problems.
Like something
right? So actually giving the space to ask and care, and it's like, you know, is there something that, you know, you'd like to share with me? And then giving them that space, but then coming back to saying, definitely understand, but, you know, this is a professional environment, and we do have clients, we do have deadlines. Is this something that you think you're capable of stepping into? Because I think at the end of the day, there's a fundamental human reaction that when people force us to do a thing, we don't want to do it.
Totally, we resist.
So that's I think the biggest challenge with bosses, like when there is a professional like hierarchy, to be like, you have to do this, I'm paying you to do this, like, come on, right? But that person builds resentment. So how do you phrase it in a way of a question, where it's basically like, you know, do you think you can step up to this task? And when it's phrased like that, then the person responding, it's like, it almost becomes a challenge where they're like, yes, I do want to. Like,
you trigger that motivation. No, I get that. I like that. I like that. I also like that in combination with enrollment too, like enrolling in your big vision. I feel like, what do you ladies think? Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you had to like get somebody on board? And you felt like they weren't cutting the mustard in that? I mean, you know, I feel like as powerful women, we all have standards for how we want to see things, right? Or how we want to build things. And that's something that can be very hard to navigate.
Especially because I do a lot with interns backstage of the fashion show. So that's very dicey because you have to appreciate them because they're doing it for free.
Yeah, and they're also learning.
They're also learning. To learn. So I try and treat it like it's a professional environment, like they are getting paid. But I understand that, life gets in the way, so it's always a kind of a balance. But I elicit that kind of team. It's like, let's do this together and, get everybody on board so that if she's not here to do it, then somebody else can pick it up. And I have other interns and all that, so I don't have to feel like, where were you? We were relying on you, because then they don't want to show up because they feel like they really disappointed you.
It's also, it's a lot about just treating people with, generally just with kindness. Just like you were saying earlier, like, is everything okay?
Yeah,
because sometimes we assume that, like, this person is just being lazy and they just don't care about their job anymore, when in fact maybe their personal life is crumbling. Maybe they're getting a divorce, or maybe someone that they love has died, or something really horrific and transformative is going on, and they're terrified to tell it to their boss because they're scared that, like, they are gonna not be looked at the same at work, or they're going to lose their job, or people aren't going to think that they're professional enough, But at the end of the day, like, we are all human, and sometimes, like, we might just be going through a hard time, and, like, being able to treat people with kindness and compassion and making them feel comfortable enough when you're managing them to speak to you about what their issues are, then perhaps for, a particular period, you can find a solution instead of just, like, hating on someone and then they're scared to, like, come to work and, like, that kind of thing. Like, my boss loved me, but she was very hard on me, and sometimes I used to feel like I couldn't go to her when things were happening because I was so scared to disappoint her.
She was going to be disappointed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So make you wrong about it.
Right, and it makes you so terrified because of this expectation of perfectionism all the time. I mean, it's just not... It's not practical. But when people feel comfortable to work with you and to speak with you, then the work gets done in a lot better way. You actually end up getting more work done when people feel comfortable to like be themselves.
So what I love that you've done, Lisa, and thank you for that, Sarah. What I love that you've done, just like from looking at your online content and stuff, it looks to me like you have built a community of women who feel like they are the standard of excellence and can live into it. Like, I feel like you foster that a lot in people. So I definitely think that that's a big thing. That's Thank good. You. Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about making that shift from athlete to entrepreneur.
Well, it wasn't a direct shift.
Okay.
So I actually went from athlete to student.
Okay.
So I spent 4 years at Yale, and during that time I bounced through a number of majors, but settled in American Studies literature major, and went into finance for a few years.
Okay.
I was working at a hedge fund.
I always feel like there's a lot of drinking in that industry.
But there's a lot of drinking now, I think, in any industry.
That's true. So. There's a lot of drinking, people.
How did you get into that, Lisa?
Right?
I'm curious, just, having the degree and your major study, how did you get into finance?
Well, the thing that, especially for the people who are coming right out of college, a lot of the investment banks and consulting firms, they don't look for a particular major. Like, if you're coming from a top school, they're looking for smart people that they can train. Because anyway, most people aren't learning, investment banking as a major in college. Yeah. And even the econ major is hardly applicable.
Yeah.
There's a great YouTube video called The 5-Minute University where he boils down the entire college degree into like 5 minutes, but he's like, econ. Supply and
demand.
That's like all you
That's it.
But yeah, so they look for people that are smart, that can solve problems. So I think at the end of the day, it's like really how you think. And can you think thoughtfully? Can you ask good questions? All of those really intangible strategic skills that like you gain through experience, and I think through being exposed to a lot of different perspectives. So I ended up getting an internship there for the summer, and then ended up going full time.
Wow, that's awesome. I want to know like what the biggest challenge has been. like all along. Yeah, well, you could say in life, but through, going through the mastery of gymnastics and then Ivy League school and then going into finance where you're education on the job and then becoming a female entrepreneur who's building a business that helps other women. Like, what has been the biggest challenge all along? Like, what has been the thing that, we all have that theme, that thing that, rings in the back of our mind that can stop us if we let it, right?
I mean, each of those inflection points had a different challenge, per se. But, I mean, I think the biggest internal battle has always been lack of enoughness, just like never feeling good enough. And no matter how many things I achieved, there was always this nagging sense that, like, it wasn't enough and I had to do more and I had to, like, prove something to someone or myself that, like, if I did enough things, maybe one day I would feel that sense of, like, confidence and groundedness and just, like, the opposite of what I felt when I walked into, those meeting rooms, and I felt small and inexperienced and young and female and, like, just not like the other people in the room. Yeah. So, like, I didn't know how to reconcile that feeling in, like, going into those types of rooms with, like, but my resume says that I should feel like I'm awesome. And I think, it's like, it doesn't matter how many people told me that, it just never stuck. Yeah. And I was like, I hear you, but I don't feel like that, and I don't understand why. And the more people be like, yeah, but you should feel so awesome, and you should feel so... I'm like, yeah, but I don't. Yeah. And I don't know, like, someone help me, like, figure out why and how I, like, fix this. Yeah. So that's really why I started exploring that feeling of enoughness, because I really wanted to figure out how I could gain it.
Yeah, and now you have a podcast about it. Yeah. And you do this really great metaphor about the bucket in the tree. Will you tell us about the bucket in the tree?
Yeah, so the story kind of starts with me, like, stumbling across this pretty interesting art exhibit where it was an exhibit that all it said was, before I die, I want to ... and that was, like, written on these big walls. And the entire walls were empty, but they had markers that were strewn everywhere so people could write all the things they wanted before they died. Oh, that's cool, right? When I came back a week later, it was like all the walls were filled with all the wishes that people wanted before they died. And there was one tiny inscription that said, before I die, I want to make myself proud. Wow. And that was the one that stuck with me because I felt like that's what I've always been doing. Like, I'm just trying to figure out ways to make myself feel proud so that I could feel like I was enough. And the thing that I realized was that there was a distinct difference between trying to make myself proud versus being proud of myself. And so the first scenario is the empty bucket. So the empty bucket is your life. And as you go through life, you're trying to make yourself proud by putting all of these things, money and press and fame and fancy apartments and, more boyfriends, more girlfriends into this bucket to basically start to feel fulfilled. But the problem is, no matter how much you fill that bucket, for some reason, you still will feel empty because you're still just an empty bucket. And in comparison, the tree is not reaching for all these other trees and trying to take their fruit. Instead, it has to, in order to grow taller and stronger, focus on its roots, which are water and nutrients and connection to the earth and love. And it's not trying to make anyone else proud. It's just saying, you know, I am proud of myself for being on this journey. And when I do grow tall and strong enough, which I know I will, if I focus on my roots, then I can start bearing fruit for other people.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. What do you guys think? Did anything come up for you guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right?
Well, it's interesting because it's sort of what we were speaking about before. You know, as I say, in this reality, we bought a lie from the moment we came in about how wrong we are.
Yeah.
And so we're always coming from the place of wrong and what can we do to make it more, when in actuality, we're everything. We begin with being everything. And so everything is really about the journey to own that and claim it and acknowledge it. And then everything changes. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. What about you guys? What do you think? I always know when my prolific ladies are silent, I know that they're like processing and thinking it and letting it marinate.
I was just thinking about how I turned 40 in August, and I think, you know, from what I heard leading up to turning 40, it was like, oh yeah, you know, the cool thing about getting older is that you don't really care anymore about what people think or say, and it really has been true for me. I feel so much more relaxed in my own skin and who I am, and you know, over time, I've not been so concerned about what other people think and how I come off, and it's really nice. It's like, oh, thank God, you know, because in my 20s and early 30s, there was a tension there, and I think it has to do with what you're talking about, and it was more about, like, who am I in my career, and that's my identity, and then losing that is like crushing because you're so attached to that label. And I thank God I'm past that, but I know it's a thing for sure.
Yeah,
I think the one thing that gives me the satisfaction is really giving back, you know, to help other women coming up in through the ranks, because my mantra is, and everybody always repeats it back to me, but I want to be the person I wish I had met when I first moved to New York. So that's the way I live, and I try and give people the experience that I wanted to have and that I had, but not to the extent that I'm giving them. So it's kind of a payback thing, but that's really the satisfaction that you cannot put a price tag on. You know, when people say, you know, you changed me, you did this for me, you did that for me, and I basically just gave them permission to be themselves, or, you know.
You were the tree, you were offering your fruit.
Yep. And everybody, you shouldn't give away so much. It comes back to me.
Comes back tenfold. Comes back. Anything you give comes back tenfold. You know, that hollow feeling, that emptiness, that not enough feeling, and the constant drive for perfectionism and stuff. That was, I think, the theme of like the majority of my previous life. You know, when I was younger, I was a professional singer, and it was never good enough. You know, no matter how much stuff I won, no matter how many things I did, how many special things I got, never enough. And then it reached a point where I couldn't do it anymore, and I developed performance anxiety, and I couldn't sing anymore, because it went from me singing because I love to sing to me singing to please other people. And, you know, when you're constantly living your life in a way that's focused on pleasing other people, you just lose yourself. You just lose yourself. And I think just what Kat was saying, I think that when you actually get that full feeling is when you use your life in service of others. And then the funny thing about it is all those other things that you're seeking all just show up without you even trying. Yeah. So when you have a purpose in your life, when you have this like purpose in your life and this drive and this service to others and helping others and wanting to do something that's beneficial to others, then all of a sudden you end up with a really nice apartment and press, and you know, and you're not, and that's not the focus at all, but you end up with all of those great things, because, you know, I really believe that like the more that we give is the more that we have, and then the more that we give again is the more that we get again, and you know, it's just this constant. Well, I think that when we're like scared and we're like holding on to everything in life, then that's when we end up with the least.
Scared equals scarcity.
Yes.
And a tree is just so much more attractive than a bucket.
Right. I gotta say hi to the Facebook Live people. Hold on, Lisa. I'm gonna let you. So PJ came in. I see Pamela says, "Where is the line between kindness, understanding, and accommodation?" And this is back to our other question. An employee refuses to respond to supervisory direct. Oh, Pam, win. You know how Pam does. Pam, who normally is on here, she goes in supervisory direction and doesn't meet the standard of professionalism in the workspace. I think we covered that already because that was an older question. But let us know.
Hire slow, fire fast.
But what'd you say?
Hire slow, fire fast.
Hopefully you got that, Pam. Hire slow, fire fast, honey. And Brian's here. Pamela likes the bucket and the tree metaphor. She says that it's lovely.
Yeah, and I would agree that it's really about, I call it duty. Like your duty to serve, your duty to others, that has gotten me through. You know, it's like the only way that to not focus on like yourself and your lack of whatever that is, like lack of this, lack of that, is to shift the focus onto others. And when you give to others and you see that happiness or that gratitude, then it starts to fulfill you in a different way.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I mean, I can remember years of being like in a space of insecurity. And then I started mentoring young women because I knew that I there was something I needed to be doing. And it completely changed my self-view without focusing on I love it. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's time to like deep dive into the love stuff. We haven't even talked about any kind of love and dating stuff. You know, I'm a love coach, right? Yes. So we're going to have to like shift a little bit because in our badassness, we also have to balance our lives, right? It's like they never talk about this with men. They never ask you, how do you balance being, you know, an entrepreneur or a boss or whatever with your love life? No one ever asks men that question. But let me tell you this, they don't ask men this question because men don't know how to do it.
I would agree.
Women do. Like either we do or we're always in the exploration of it or the discovery of it, right?
Maybe they're not asked that, and that's why they don't know how to balance it. Because it's never occurred to them that that's a thing.
It's something to think about, right? Yeah. That it's something to maybe explore a little bit. And we're generalizing, obviously. There's men out there that are very woke and conscious and are doing it and know how to do it. But yeah, I feel like it is something that is very expectant of women to, be able to answer that question. But I think it is an important conversation because the way that we operate and the way that we are badass is by our holisticness. Our ability to, do a lot of things. And by do a lot of things, I don't necessarily mean be busy all the time, but actually contribute and affect a lot of change and cause things for different people in different areas of our lives. Like, I feel like that's something that we sort of naturally have. Hi, Jim Farmer, who just joined, that we naturally have, and also something that we're constantly in discovery about. Mm-hmm. So talk to us a little bit about, building this business, this socially conscious, contributive business, and then also balancing that with like a dating life. And like we were talking a little bit before, you said you were willing to go there, right? A little bit with the personal life, with what's going on. Like talk to us a little bit about that and what that's been like for you and, where you're at with that.
Well, there's this one, like Instagram post that I've seen where it's like you check boxes and it's like single, taken, building my empire. And it's like the last one's checked.
Building the empire, you got that.
So I think I love Ariana Grande.
Mm-hmm. Millennial. Yes. We got a millennial.
I think her awesome. Thank You Next song has totally embodied like the ethos of a new type of way to look at your relationships.
Yes.
Which is that it's gratitude and it's like, thank you for the lessons and I'm going to take those and I'm going to like let go of the bad stuff. But like, thank you so much for that learning experience. Like, all right, next.
Yeah. Like opportunity, everything. I always talk about that. Like every rejection is a favor. There's opportunity in everything and every relationship, right?
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that for, I would definitely label myself as an alpha. Mm-hmm. And I think there's this constant question between like my girlfriends and I, which is like, as an alpha, do you date another alpha or do you date a beta? And I think that there seems to be a positive and negative connotation of those, like in the past, because we used to worship the alpha male. But I think that...
And gender norms, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Very much
and I think that that's no longer, like... It's unclear which one's positive now. Because of the rise of strong women, of, like, alpha women who have their own dreams and have now the ability to go after those without, like, societal restrictions. Or, like, at least, I mean, you know, we can go after that to a certain extent. And I have always been attracted to alphas.
Yeah.
And because
somehow I knew you were going to say that.
Because I think that there's a natural similarity in drive for purpose, for success, for what kind of lifestyle that would bring, and that brings with it its own challenges, because you have to ask the question, what's really driving you? And for most people, especially, like when you're early on in your career and you're just like, you're trying to prove something to yourself and to other people, insecurity is driving that. So you have like a lot more massive insecurities, I actually think, in the alphas, where like, I am nothing without my dream. And so when you bring two people who like have their own lane, unless both sides have that awareness that like relationships and my professional dreams are not a zero-sum game, then it doesn't work. So I think that the first thing that you mentioned of like, men don't get asked this question of like, how do you balance work and relationships? And maybe it's because women already naturally have the ability, like for the longest time, we've balanced kids, we've balanced, the
multitasking,
like a million things, right? Yeah. Like women know how to multitask, and it's just like kind of in our nature. But then because men generally, I've seen like just don't live in the gray zone as much as we do. There's like, this is my work. This is my relationship, and if I spend more time at work, then my relationship's going to detract from it. If I spend more time on relationships, then it's going to make my work suffer. And so inevitably, it kind of, you can only allocate time to one, or so they think. Whereas for me, the way that I look at my ideal relationship is that it's a partnership, right? Yeah. And it's like, to come from entrepreneurship speak, it's like we're co-founders in the most important business of our lives, which is our life. Yeah. And just like you don't, like, I think people have this misconception that with relationships, like, they should just work. Like, if it's hard, like, it's gone. And I think that's also amplified by the fact that there is, dating apps and social media, and it seems like there's so many more fish in the sea that are accessible. But the idea that like it doesn't take work is interesting to me, because it's like I meet men who are super driven, who will like put in like labor day and night for their work and for their companies. And then if it's like there's a mild problem in the relationship, they're like, I can't handle it. Like too many emotions.
It's too much.
I can't. Like, I'm so tired. And it's like, but it's like a co-founder. When you find a co-founder, you find a business partner. Like you, like fucking work at it, right? You're like, okay, our values align. Here's our culture. Here's like, our respect. Here's our trust. Here's the vision that we're working towards. And we help each other. It's like, this is our dream, this is like our vision, and obviously you have to find like the shared vision and the shared values.
Absolutely. I'm all about purpose alignment when it comes to partnering.
But it's like, I see it as, how is it interdependent, right? It's like, how do you guys help build your life company together? And it's additive. And I see it as additive versus zero sum. And I feel like the more ambitious of a man I date, the more zero sum he sees like the relationship, the way the relationship fits in. And it's like, you can't change someone's perspective. It's just like at some point they're gonna reach a certain age where they're like, fuck, like I still can't find someone because maybe he did need a beta.
Yeah.
Or maybe like, you know, there are guys they're like, no, I do want an ambitious woman. I do want someone who's really focused on her job. I want an equal partner. But when push comes to shove, like his career comes first. So it's like, I was reading this article with how Alex Ohanian supports Serena Williams, and
I think I read the same article.
Yeah, it's like how he's like over 50% of men still, even if they want an ambitious, like career-driven woman, believes deep down that his work is more important than her work. It needs to come first.
Yeah,
and if you really are with another ambitious woman, she's going to be like, I don't. Like, really?
But see, there's something about in the framing, because I think that you're so right about that alignment and being interdependent and that understanding, you know, as a self-identified alpha female wanting an alpha male, that it's not so much about the identification of yourself that way or his identification of himself that way, that it's really more about what are you classifying, you know, as relationship work. Like, I believe in finding the ease in a relationship. And I get what you're saying. There's that idea that, oh, this is, you know, let me just throw it away because it's not easy. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the focusing on what is working, the focusing on what is easy, and, you know, allowing that to grow.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, a lot of times I think we classify things as work that are really just what it is. And we can choose to have it be fun if we wanted to, or we can be like, oh, I got to take you out again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it is how people frame it. And I think a lot of times what happens is with ambitious people, whether male or female, is that we will classify the use of our time as, like, if you want my time, you want my work.
Yeah.
When really, I want your time, I want your enjoyment, I want your pleasure, I want your presence, I want your fun. Yeah. And it doesn't it's not necessarily that it's work. I feel like that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a very weird distinction, but I feel like because people put a negativity on what you have to do in a relationship, a lot of times they start to look at it like it's toiling.
You're right. I think that work does bring with it a heavy weight to it. And I'm trying to think of a better word. Maybe it's like a commitment,
or
like it's like you can, if you're gonna be in a relationship, like you commit to being present. Like you commit to putting your best foot forward. You commit to like trying to be in a good mood versus like you know
or just or just reframing it. Like, it's choice. It's you reframe it. It's Barbara talks about allowance a lot. It's just reframing what it is. You're still doing the same thing, like you're showing up and you're giving your time and all of that, but it's like we so often, and even with work, I feel like we frame things as, oh, this burden of a thing I have to do, rather than just putting ourselves into it and seeing where we can find the enjoyment. And you know, I feel like that happens a lot with relationships. And as far as like whether someone is alpha and alpha beta or whatever, I think even, you know, allowing for that person to just be who they are and show up as who you're committed to being is a big thing that we don't tend to be aware of or even try to do.
And I think that there's something, I kind of feel like in a weird way, like maybe alphas and betas are kind of need for each other. Because if you're a powerhouse of a woman and you're killing it and you're working hard and doing all these cool things, like, what's more lovely than to just have somebody who just is gently there and just loves you? You know what I mean? Like, why does your man have to be this like big fancy power player too? Like, what's wrong with him having his nice little job, whatever it is he does?
He does watercolors.
He does well.
Nothing wrong with it.
And his work finishes at 4 and your work finishes at 10, and you come home and he's like, hi babe, and he pours you a glass of wine and makes you a bubble bath. You know what I mean?
Sarah's got the setup, honey.
But I'm saying, like, what's wrong with that too? You know what I mean? You know, we have these expectations, like, I'm a powerful woman, I must be with this big fancy powerful man, but maybe you just need a man who just loves you.
I don't think any of it's wrong, though.
No, none of it is wrong. But I'm just saying, you know, we have these ideas in our head of like what this should look like, what success looks like, what a successful marriage looks like, what a successful relationship looks like. But sometimes, like, what we think we need versus what we actually need are two different things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like how, just like I was saying, like you're like this big fancy powerhouse of a woman, you know, and you think that you have to have this big fancy man, but maybe you just need a man who just like loves you, and like you come home and he takes care of the things you don't have time to do, and he loves you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
the thing that I found with my husband, who was like number 2 guy at Marvel Comics, it doesn't get more stressful than that. He knew at 10 o'clock when he stopped writing comic books, that was our time together, and he put it aside.
Yeah.
It was like, if I haven't figured it out, if I haven't done it, this is our time.
Yeah.
And you have to make that choice. You have to say, no more roiling over what didn't work this day and what didn't work that day. This is your time together, and really consciously commit to that sort of a decision, and just enjoy that, and just say, tomorrow's another day, we're here together. And what didn't work, what didn't get done, what didn't get done, what didn't get done right, it doesn't matter, we're together.
That's a commitment.
Yeah,
and
intentional.
enjoying each other.
I love it.
And what I hear from you, Lisa, too, is that what you said from the get-go is like personal development is what you're all about, and forget about all of the achievements and accolades and what's on your resume. And it's like that could be the partner for you too, the partner who is also about personal development and has a greatness to him, and we don't know what that looks like exactly. It could come in many forms, right? Mm-hmm. But somebody who's also a tree who will be natural and bear their own fruit, and what kind of fruit we don't know, but I think that's the key.
I love our married ladies. We have our married ladies here who always give us good nuggets. It's good. Go ahead, Barbara, and then we got to plug Lisa's stuff.
And so, it's like, as I'm going to talk about energy, okay? But energetically speaking, what you're saying is absolutely correct, because when we're growing up, because we're energy, we pick up other people's energy without knowing it. Mm-hmm. So the question is, who does that belong to? Was it your parents? Was it your next door neighbors? Was it your favorite movie that you watched that you energetically took on and believe that this is what you want? And that's for everything. Mm. But if we're talking energetically about people, you're like an alpha woman, okay? And in the work that we talk about, it's called a humanoid, the Avatar movie, anyway. But they actually match with the man that you're talking about, who is the caregiver. And the thing is, if you look at it and you ask some questions, because questions are algorithm interrupts, and it opens up an energy for something to come in that you never would have allowed in. And if let's say you're dating a man, and he isn't that alpha man, but he's sweet and he's loving and he's always there, and then you say, okay, so what's right about this I'm not getting, when you don't see that alpha part of him? I wouldn't be surprised if it started to expand into something that you wouldn't have thought that this is the kind of man that would work for you, because energetically it would be an amazing combination, an amazing fit. So it's just what we buy in life. And as I say, it's the lie that we bought from the time we're children. And what if you could change that lie? What if you could actually go inside and just ask, what would be the kind of relationship that would actually work for me and create a greater space for me to be who I am and for him to be who he is? And it's amazing sometimes what would occur.
There you have it. All right, so as always, the time has gone so fast. By so fast. We're already at 55, and there's still a couple more things I want to get from you, Lisa. I want you to talk a little bit about Academy, and also tell us a little bit. I know this is a huge shift because we're shifting right out of the love conversation. But tell us a little bit about SheWorx and women who are out there who are looking for funding and investors, where they should go, how they can get in touch with you, and all of that stuff. So go ahead and tell the people how to get at you.
Sure.
What you're up to.
So what I'm up to first, what's next, is I'm building a new platform that takes the traction from what I've already built with SheWorx to launch the Academy. And it's the-academyme.com, where you can sign up for the the launch when we do officially launch. And the Academy is the executive education platform where we teach women the professional strategic skills to help them advance in the workplace, taught by the world's most powerful female executives.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
So that will be launching in the fall of this year. But when it comes to SheWorx, SheWorx is still an active, thriving community and event series. Mm-hmm. So you can always go on SheWorx.com, SheWorx.com.
And we'll leave the link in the comments too.
Where you'll find a number of different things. You'll find our upcoming event. So our next one is on exactly a week from now on Monday at 7 p.m. and that's going to be talking about the future of funding and unlocking family office funds.
Okay.
And we have our fast track fundraising boot camp. So in that boot camp, we help you learn all of the strategies. You get the templates for how to navigate and prepare for a investor conversation, whether that's with angel investors, venture investors. So if you are raising money but have no idea where to start, how to build your investor list, how to do a pitch deck, all of those things we teach you. And there's a group of other female entrepreneurs in there that are going through the same journey. And then the second thing is we'll be launching our next it's called Present with Purpose, which is a pitch and presentation training for people who want to learn how to create powerful presentations, whether that's speaking on stage or it's doing a business presentation to get more clients. But there's, public speaking is one of the number one fears for people. So we help you overcome that fear and create a structure for which you can give presentations that will give results.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. So now let me ask you this. If I'm a female entrepreneur, does it matter? We got 1 minute for the Armed Radio people. Does it matter whether it's services, products, or whatever? It's just that I'm trying to start a business. I'm trying to start a project.
If you're trying to fundraise, you go in that boot camp. If you want to be a better presenter, a strong presenter, getting paid for it, then the boot camps, the pitch trainings for you.
Pitch training, got it. Awesome. Armed Radio people, never forget you're a love machine. If you ever feel like you're not getting enough, just make more and ask for Candy. Thank you for joining us. We love having you. Facebook Live people, we always have a couple more minutes. I want to say thank you so much, Lisa Wang. You totally jumped in with the ladies. We're not exactly a Shark Tank, but we are some powerful women. And so, we come with the conversation and you brought it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for all of your nuggets and wisdom and all that good stuff. I'm definitely going to put your links in the comments and the Facebook Live people sending likes and loves to Lisa. Yes. And I see PJ, you joined us. Hi, PJ. Savvy Sisterhood. I know we're live in the group right now. You guys are always welcome to come and join the conversation too. And definitely get at Lisa because I know so many of you are building businesses and looking for funding and trying to do big things in the world. So you definitely want to reach out and find Lisa. And that's